Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Welcome back to Harrogate, everybody. It's a damp, very misty, dreary kind of day here in Yorkshire, which means this next run of episodes probably won't look all that appealing visually, but hopefully the villagers will make up for that. I've just spent 10 minutes walking from my end point to my start point. That tells you how small this place is. It'll take me about 10 minutes to walk back. There are some beautiful things to see on the way though, including a pub which is just behind the camera, and this park which you can see here, which has got a water pump on it. I don't know whether you can just see it, but it's there behind this lamppost. We'll have a look at both of those things as we make our way through the parish of Coneythorpe and Clareton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Coneythorpe and Clareton, King's Settlement. This week in Harrogate, we've moved away from the town itself to the east to explore the first of a run of villages close to Knaresborough. This is Coneythorpe and Clareton, two tiny settlements which form one parish, whose boundaries straddle the A1M close to junction 47. The name Coneythorpe is Danish in origin. It derives from Konig-thorpe, which literally means King's Settlement. In some older documents and maps, Coneythorpe is sometimes referred to as Kingsthorpe, but that name seems to have lost popularity and has long since fallen out of use. Before 1066, the village was owned by Edward the Confessor, and after the Norman conquest, it passed into the hands of William the Conqueror. It was then granted to William Mauleverer for his part in the Battle of Hastings. Owned by the local estate for centuries, the entire village was sold by auction in 1968, and some adverts for that auction and newspaper articles about the sale can be found on display in the only pub here, the Tiger Inn. Since 1997, Coneythorpe and Clareton has been a conservation area. As well as the pub, it features an attractive green with a water pump, several pretty houses made of local cobbles, and a working forge. So, short stroll time. Come walk with me and let's see it all. We start this short walk through both villages on Shortsill Lane, looking south along the main road between the A59 and the village of Arkendale. At this southern end is our first landmark, the Tiger Inn, Coneythorpe's very own country pub. Owned and run by the Gill family for more than 2 decades, the Tiger is known for its food, although it only opens 5 days out of 7, being closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays. On the wall we have a parish notice board, and you know what that means. Mark off Coneythorpe and Clareton. That's another one down in Harrogate. The pub sits on the edge of a small village green where since the 1970s small-scale developments have occurred, despite this being the oldest part of Coneythorpe. The village shows few signs of its early origins, although until the 1960s a pattern of tofts and garths immediately east of the green could still be seen. Effectively, the green forms the Tiger's beer garden, what with it being adorned with picnic tables these days. I imagine it's not a bad place for a pint in the summertime. The green is also where the Christmas tree goes every year, and here it is. The green also has a double-action water pump. Although this was disconnected in the 1970s, all the workings are still in place. It used to be the only water source for the village until piped water arrived and was looked after by the fire brigade. It was renovated in 2010 by Burrells of Great Ousburn. The only other thing of note on the green would be this bench, placed here to celebrate the turn of the new millennium. The rest of the village is residential, a small cluster of houses running north up Shortsill Lane towards Clareton. Many of the oldest buildings in the village are constructed of brick and cobble. This is also seen in neighbouring villages like Flaxby, Arkendale and Marton-cum-Grafton. The rounded cobbles, which are made up of a variety of different rock types, are found in the soil in this area and come from the lateral moraine deposited by an ice sheet that filled the Vale of York in the last ice age. In the absence of other stone, these cobbles were used in the building of houses, barns and walls. Set into a wall near a working forge is a postbox, this one Edwardian. So believe it or not, you're only just a couple of paces away from the pub. That's how small Coneythorpe is. And if you think that's small, well, we're about to go into Clareton. Now this is up a hill at the end of Coneythorpe. You can see the end of Coneythorpe there. The forge, which we've just seen, is on the left hand side. Here's the hill. It's not the steepest in the world, but it is a hill, so up the hill we shall go. You can't access the A1M from here. The A1M runs through the parish boundaries to the east, but you can't access it by using this road. You have to go out onto the A59 to do so. That's the way I drove into this place this morning. So here we go then, up the hill. It bends slightly, and for about a quarter of a mile there isn't really much worth filming. It's kind of barren and empty, but when we reach the top there's a few things we can talk about. Clareton is even smaller than Coneythorpe. I counted a grand total of about 5 houses here, all of which are sited on top of that shallow hill. Clareton sits right next to the A1M, and as we've already learned from that sign, you can't access that road from here. Coneythorpe and Clareton have a connection to the village on the other side of that road though. Up until the late 1960s, all but a couple of houses and most of the land in the parish was owned by the Allerton estate, centred on the magnificent Allerton Hall. The Allerton estate had since 1805 been owned by the Mowbray and Stourton family, a fact reflected in the names of 2 local houses, Mowbray and Mowville. Coneythorpe and Clareton were sold by auction in 1968, and the Tiger Inn displays some adverts and newspaper articles about that sale. One of them suggests that it was the estate's ownership that kept these villages relatively undeveloped. There has been some small, sensitive development since the sale, but Coneythorpe and Clareton have kept their small size and feel. And with that, we're at the end of the main walk. Such a tiny place, Coneythorpe and Clareton, little speck on the Harrogate landscape. Now, despite the fact we've walked from one end of civilization to the other, there is something else which I still need to cover, but I can't access it myself. It's going to have to be within today's special section, and that's coming at you right now. On the Allerton side of the A1M, but still within the parish boundaries, is the Allerton Waste Recovery Park. It was opened in 2018, and its aim is pretty simple: to reduce the amount of household waste from both York and North Yorkshire which ends up in landfill. It was initially developed in partnership with Amy, but the facility is now operated in partnership with Talia Waste Management. The plant can process up to 320,000 tonnes of waste a year from York and the various councils across North Yorkshire, including Harrogate. Through a combination of 3 technologies, it's reducing the amount of household rubbish being sent to landfill by at least 90%. One way is via a mechanical treatment plant, the second is an anaerobic digestion plant, and the third is an incinerator. The latter of those two are used to generate electricity. The digestion plant does this by producing biogas, whilst the incinerator produces steam that feeds a turbine. Together, these provide enough electricity to supply about 40,000 homes. Time to move on to the next one, which is just up Moor Lane to the north. Seeing as Coneythorpe and Clareton are too small to have their own parish council, they share one with the much bigger settlement we're heading for. Come back next week to see what that one's all about as we continue our journey through Harrogate. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.